Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. If you are new to our channel, make sure you are subscribing. Get on this journey with us. Make sure you are commenting in the comment section as well. Goes off like a fan forum. And let's have a like target over the weekend and let's try and hit 500 likes. So on today's episode, I really wanted to just have an overlook of where we are within this transfer window, where you guys are feeling, have a real good, solid conversation about what we think's happening behind the scenes and what actually do we believe is the plan going into the next couple of weeks within the transfer window. Pre-season up and running. I imagine more players will be back on Monday, and then we've got pre-season games next week. So the season is fast approaching and I'm getting more and more excited. So I've got some notes we're going to go through. A lot to go through. So stick around, loads of different topics. And I think this is a good one over the course of the weekend to discuss and maybe highlight areas that we are a little bit concerned about or areas where we're feeling absolutely fine. So basically, I've got a new bit of tech, guys, and I'm actually loving it. So basically, I do a lot of note-taking in these type of books. And yeah, it's just like these books, and I write notes and I just put all my notes in, etc. And yeah, it's just loads of paper and like loads of just... I can't sometimes go back and read them. So I've got a Remarkable now. So basically, you write on this and it stores all of your notes in one place. So we're not sponsored by them at all, by the way. But I just thought, if you wondered what I was holding, it's my new bit of kit with all of my notes on. So we're going to start off with Emi Martinez first. We're going to talk about like two players in particular, Martinez and Ramsey. So Martinez, like, there's no rumours now. There's no noise. It looked like he was off. It looked like he was gone. It looked like he was going. Now there's nothing. And I don't know whether that's just like clubs have been like posturing in for him and like just putting themselves there and hoping something that can happen. But to me now, I'm actually feeling like there's more chance he stays than goes. And I think this is just like a transfer window, how it can develop and move and go with a window. But so yeah, I actually feel like there's more chance of him staying now. And I think maybe some things have got to happen and it happens late on. But where we're going to go with this episode, we'll kind of discuss that in a second. So it's just like, where does he go? And I'm just not sure that he does go. I just don't know where he goes. That's where my mindset's at now. And I just think with that initial burst of all that noise of him going, and then now there's nothing, leads me to say that he might stay. Same with Jacob Ramsey now as well, because I look at where he could have gone, and I'd probably say there's two clubs that I think he can go to, Spurs and Newcastle. Those are the obvious ones. I think we know that there's been interest there in the past. The fact that Spurs are trying to get Morgan Gibbs-White, I know they're not the same player, but I don't think you can have Gibbs-White, Maddison, Bergvall, Archie Gray, along with Basuma, Sars, all of those ilk of players. I just feel like that's very stacked. So Spurs, I'd say, probably done there. Newcastle could possibly, but again, I'm not sure whether they would want their funds to go on to Ramsey. And I think this leads me on to like my next point. If we need a sale, who goes? And I think the big thing with Villa is what we've been able to do is we've been able to sort of like stave off people and clubs coming in for some of our players. Could we just wait to sell players late on. And what I mean by that is your players like Bailey, Dendonkers, Buendia, Digne, we could be quite comfortable and say we can lose those players and severely reduce that wage bill. Because I think if you look at Coutinho gone, that's like 100 and something grand a week gone already. Bailey, if he goes, whenever he goes, Dendoncker, Buendia, Digne. You know, there's rumours of Bizzo coming to Villa. And Olsen was on around 50 grand a week. And Bizzo's reported to be getting 20. Again, 30 grand a week saved off that one little transaction. So we could wait, which looks like the most likely scenario, and then attack the window late on. But if we attack it late on, you've got to hope that the players are still there. You know, the key players are there that we're able to then get. You know, even rumours of Bakayoko to Forest. There's certain players going elsewhere, and some of them might be our target. So we would have to make sure that we have the players left that we really want to sign. And then this would mean that we get to keep hold of key value. And I think this is something really strong with what we've been able to do, is the sense of we haven't gone out in that PSR window at the start and gone, we're going to reduce your value so you can go. And we've not done that at all. So even though we sold the women's team, we're not in a scenario where we're trying to make a sale and we're going, oh, actually, you could have Ramsey for, say, 5, 6, 7 million. You could have Bailey for 5, 6. We're being firm and strong to the value that we see those players are worth. And yes, it means it's probably more difficult to move them on. But why should we sort of be held at gunpoint just because we want to get rid of Bailey? You know, we're in a situation where, and I imagine some people might go, just get rid of him at a lower fee or whatever. That's fine. But when we're in this situation with PSR or SCR, and maybe not so much SCR because that's more wages, isn't it? But at the end of the day, like 5 million is still 5 million. So I don't think we're in a position to try and want to really lower people's values. And I think the other interesting aspect of this all is that we've not been raided. You know, you look at Forest, Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, they've all been raided. They've all been absolutely raided. Villa haven't. So I don't know whether this is our really firm stance on key players where we just go, no, you're not going, you're not for sale, you're staying at all costs. So I think we probably need a bit of respect for that aspect of everything, really. And even though I think we all want new players, and we all want new players, and we all look at the squad and we look at areas that needs to improve. But if we've spent the money to build this squad, let's make sure we get the correct value for the players that could possibly leave. So, yes, others are strengthening, but there is still time in a window to be able to catch up. So, you know, looking at, say, Liverpool or Spurs getting Kudus and Gibbs-White, there's still opportunity there for us to claw back the gain on them that some might feel that we've lost. So I think it's important to be just really focused on kind of what we're doing right now during pre-season. And again, I keep saying, like, we got to trust the plan that it's all going to come together, because I think sometimes you can use energy and negative energy for no reason whatsoever. I think sometimes that can be a characteristic where we feel like we're losing out, or that. And what I'm trying to say is that sort of, you know, when you really think about something that might not even happen. So you could be possibly like really worried about us not signing a player, but then in 3 weeks' time we could land 3 players in a week, and all that energy that has been put into feeling like, oh, we're losing ground, we're not going to, like, it's just a waste of time because it was fine in the end. So I do think it's important to remain calm, but I do think have a discussion about like what's going on really. So I think that's my general gist of kind of where I feel that we're at, in the sense of we've got a really good squad, we've built a solid base, we finished 6th last season. It really does need fine-tuning, and that's where I think the upgrades need to come. Now, we look at Newcastle last summer, who didn't bring anybody in. That doesn't solve our SER, so it would mean that somebody would have to move on. But like I say, the value of people moving on could be that cluster of players that have got decent value. And I think we're still in this window at that stage where people are really just going out and getting targets. They're not shifting as many players, or they're not signing. No one's signing deadweight at the minute, and that window is about to open, and it will open in, say, a couple of weeks' time. I'll start calling it the deadweight window, where the players you don't want, clubs then will start coming in for. So maybe that's going to be the window that we're quite busy in. Once a couple of those start going, then we start making our moves. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, really. I think we've been strong and firm of players that are our mainstay, core, big players. And I still really struggle to see which one of those, if any of them, would be going anyway. So I think that's just like a bit of a roundup of where I'm at, really. Just my honest thoughts so far on this window. Still pretty calm, pretty relaxed. I think everything will be fine. And I think while we've got Unai Emery, who is the biggest attribute of what we've got, then we've just got to back them and remain patient, because we have got a good squad, we've got good players, we've got a great first 11, we've got a good squad for Europe. It's just about adding them final little bits of details on the squad, really. So some other news of what's come out yesterday is that Nottingham Forest are now in the Europa League, and Palace are in the Conference League. I'm not going to lie, guys, I feel like it's a bit harsh, really. I know it's the rules, like rules are rules and whatever, and we've had to abide by SCR rules and all these rules, and we've had to sell a stake in our Portuguese side in the past to comply. But I feel like Palace's situation is a little bit different to that, really. It's not a case of them foreseeing what they were about to achieve. They've literally won their first ever trophy. Their first ever trophy. They probably had no inkling that they would be going into a European campaign, and the deadline for them to make sure their finances for Europe were set, with Textor sort of doing his Lyon thing, was like the 6th round. And that's still quite early in a cup competition, especially the FA Cup, because there's still a lot of games to go. So I do really feel for them a little bit, because football's about the fans, and this just feels quite shitty for the fans, really. And I don't really like it. And to be honest, like with UEFA and their rules, and I look at like the Club World Cup, and they want to put this big spectacle on for the fans, etc., and all this business, it just feels a bit, I don't know, some might disagree and say rules are rules, but I think in this instance it's a bit harsh. Like, they didn't know that they were going to be going into Europe. And then on the other hand, I feel a bit like, why should Forest get Europa? Like, why then should they move up one? I know it's just because of the swap in the places, but like Marinaki's, like, it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. You know, Villa have been rewarded for finishing sixth. Forest were rewarded for finishing seventh. Like, that's your reward. So I know they can appeal it at the CAS, can't they? But I don't think that they'll be able to sort of overturn it really. So that's frustrating. And I mean, again, touching on Forest, like with the Gibbs White thing, like he's taking legal action on them, apparently like tapping up, like, oh, that guy is absolutely crazy. So I just thought I'd just give a bit of an update of where I think we could be at, what could be happening behind the scenes with us maybe waiting. And yes, we don't want to wait. We want some players to come in right now, but it is what it is. I think we've just got to be patient. You know, I think if I was to pick Villa's first 11 to start against Newcastle, barring a right back and maybe a right winger, depends what we do with Marlon and where he plays, etc., then we're strong. We're strong. I think we've just got to remain patient. It'll all come together. And yeah, just make sure we just hold tight as a fan base. Really, I just don't think it's time to be panicking just yet. I mean, if we get to say the starting week of the season and we've still not signed it, then maybe I'll start being a bit like, what's going on here? Like, but I think I'm all right at the minute. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think we are just waiting to maybe move those fringe players on, or do you think? Because I just feel like if Villa felt like we had to move a player on, would we not have kind of gave someone a bit of a nudge by now? You know, not reduce the fee, but just nudge them a bit and speed them up and just get that deal flowing quicker. I'm sure we would have been able to do something like that. And the fact that we haven't kind of means that I think my overriding summary is it still feels quite calm from the club. And I know nothing's coming out, but there's no real panic. So the way I'm gathering it is if I sense no panic from the club, then I see no reason for me to panic, if that makes sense. Like if I started to see like Ramsey rumour, Roger rumour, Martinez rumour, then I'd be like, oh, what is going on here? But the fact that it's all now just chill, I don't know. Villa fans, let me know your thoughts. Up the Villa.